back to the technology room. Today, this afternoon, evening, morning, depending where you are in the world, Michael from TNG Consulting to talk about multi-language Moodle. We encourage you to put your questions into the forum early, and if we can have time, we'll get.
Hi, I'm Michael Millett, and I'm coming to you from Canada, in Ottawa, the capital of Canada. And today I would like to talk to you about how to implement a multi-language Moodle site. Now, when I talk about a multi-language Moodle site, I mean a completely multilingual Moodle site. You can switch the user interface, and your courses will change. So everything will change. So we're going to be covering different aspects. For example, we'll be covering how to install the language packs, how to install some essential plugins, how to do some configuration. So the full package, and hopefully we will get through that in the next 25 minutes, and we may have a little special guest towards the end. So to start off, when you're installing a multilingual Moodle site, the first thing you'll need to do is install the language packs. So in this Moodle site here, this is a plain vanilla Moodle 3.9 site. I just installed it like 20 minutes ago. So bear with me if it doesn't quite work out as well as I would have liked. However, so we go to site administration, and right on the first site administration tab, there's language packs. By the way, this is a live demonstration. There's no PDFs or anything. Everything's going to be on this sample site. So as you can see, I've already installed some language packs, but normally, and I did that just purely in the interest of time. But normally you would go down the list, and it's quite an extensive list that Moodle supports of languages. So you just have to find the languages that you want to have your Moodle site support, select them, and at the bottom over here, click Install Selected Language Packs. And you wait a little bit, and before you know it, they will appear on the left side here. And that's pretty much it. Once those are installed, you'll notice at the top, there's a new drop-down menu where you can select the languages. Now, some of the languages, such as French, have sub-languages or dialects. For example, since I'm in Canada, I have a French language pack for Canada, and this overrides the full French. So it doesn't have all of the strings in it. It overlays. But in our language menu, we may not want to have all three show up. So the next step will be to do a little bit of a configuration. And we can do that by going back to site administration. And we wait for site administration to show up. And scroll back down to language and go into language settings. And when I'm telling you, I'm going to show you everything, I'm showing you everything today. Now, there's different ways that Moodle can handle languages, and one of them is to automatically detect the language of the user's web browser. That's really convenient because Moodle doesn't really have a splash page where you can pick the language for your website. So if the language of the web browser is one of the languages that you have installed on your Moodle site, Moodle will automatically come up in that language. If it's not, for example, if you are using an Italian web browser and all the Moodle site is supporting is English and French, then the default language comes into play. So here, as you can see, we got all our languages, and by default, I have English. Next down, We have displayed language menu, so you can turn this language menu on and off. Of course, if you've got languages, why not give the people the choice? However, as I mentioned before, we may not want to have all three, the English, the French, and the French Canadian dialect. So in this field here, languages on language menu, I would enter the language codes, which are the EN, the FR_CA, and FR. Those are the language codes. And we would enter the ones that we want to have appear in the menu here. So I will put EN, FR_CA, and we'll just double check that to make sure that's correct. FR_CA, that's correct. And then once we save this, only the two languages that we chose here will appear. The rest of the settings are pretty much, you can just leave them as default. We save. And before you know it, and a few seconds after that, we will have English and English French Canadian only. And that's how you limit the number of languages in your language drop-down menu. So next, now Moodle supports multiple languages, as you can see. However, it doesn't support it everywhere. There's still parts of Moodle plugins that aren't translated and things like that, that could still be, that you might want to need to translate. And to do that, you would go into Site Administration. Again, scroll back down to Language. Now we've done language packs and we've done language settings. The next one is language customization. And this is a place where you can go and you can choose the language that you want to edit. And you can pretty much edit almost anything in Moodle. Any text that appears anywhere in Moodle is customizable. You need to be careful though, because you might change it expecting it to change in just one place, and it will actually change in many places. But once you've got that done, you can, for example, you might want to change student to learner. This is where you would do it. Right now, we're loading up the English language pack. And once we have that, we will be able to choose where the part of Moodle where we want to, or the language string in Moodle that we want to change. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 100%. Just wait a few more seconds. Live demos never go quite as quickly as you hope, Now, this is how you would modify the language of your installation of Moodle. However, what I would recommend is that you actually go to the Moodle homepage and click up here where it says translation. That will take you to the Moodle translator, which actually looks pretty much the same as the translator in Moodle, which is still loading, but I can show you what it'll look like. What will happen is that you will have the opportunity to choose the language, the component that you want to edit. So for example, I'm the author of a plugin called Filter Codes, and here it's telling me that there's 9 missing strings. On the left side, you'll have the English string, and on the other side, you'll have the French string, and then you can go and make changes to it. If it's something that you want to contribute back to Moodle, you would definitely want to go to this MS translator and enter your strings there. The folks who take care of integrating these strings into Moodle are pretty efficient. You submit your strings, and very often, at least with the French, my experience with the French language pack has been that within a few days, the language pack is updated, and then you can just go back into Moodle, update your language packs in one of the screens that we've already seen. It was actually where you installed the language packs, and your strings will be included, and the benefit is that everybody else in the world will also be able to benefit from the work that you've done. It's a very easy contribution to do, and I highly recommend it. So let's go back over here. Here we finally got our continue button. Go in there. And as promised, I've increased the magnification here. However, it's pretty much the same. We've already chosen our language. So here's the components. You have all of the core Moodle components, and then you have all of the third-party plugins after that. And it works pretty much the same as the Amos translator. Once you're done, you go to the bottom, like go to stage, and you just keep going through the process. I'm not going to do it now because I haven't made any changes, but you just go through the process. And if you're doing it in Moodle, you'll see the change right away. If you do it in the Amos translator, the language will be updated in a few days, and then you'll be able to pull it back down to your Moodle site. Now, how do you figure out which strings come from where? So if you go back into site administration, go to development tab, and then go to debugging. And we scroll down a little bit, and there's an option called Show Origin of Language Strings. So we turn that on, save. Now what's going to happen is that when we add a parameter called strings equals 1, we will now be able to see where each string in Moodle is coming from. And I can do it right here on the debugging page. So we see that we've already got a question mark, so we'll use an ampersand as for the parameter, and strings equals 1, press enter, and we can now see where everything's coming from. So for example, this where it says calendar here, that actually comes from the string called calendar in the plugin called calendar. That might be actually a little bit confusing example here. We have a string, so none, : do not show any errors or warnings. That is a string called debug none, and that comes from the plugin called admin. I'm sure by now you're starting to get the idea that there's a lot of plugins in Moodle. In fact, Moodle is made up of mostly plugins. It starts up with over 400 plugins, which is normal for Moodle. It's not like we have to get it down to 50 or something like that. This is perfectly normal in Moodle. The string admin bookmarks is a string called plugin name, and it comes from the plugin called block. Now, when I'm talking about the names of the strings, that's what you're going to see over here. It's a little bit hard to see. Let's see if we can make this bigger. So over here, we've chosen the plugin, the component, which is the first, the second parameter in this squiggle here. And if we go down a little bit, you'll see content missing. That would be the label of the string. And that's how you figure out what strings you want to edit. So now that we figured out how to customize our language, and you may find that some languages don't even have strings, and please, by all means, contribute your language strings to Amos so that the world can benefit from your efforts as well. So now, to get rid of all those strings, just click on any link and you'll be back to normal. Next, we're going to see how to, actually, before we get into the course, let's see how much time do we have. We've still got about 10 minutes. Okay, so we're going to go to site administration again. And we're going to, I'm just going to show you an example here of, we're going to talk about essential plugins. Let's talk about that first. So Moodle out of the box is just the language that you want. You can change the user interface, but it doesn't change anything else other than the strings that are part of Moodle or part of the plugins if they've been configured for your language. To be able to create content in Moodle that is multilingual, you're going to need some extra plugins. Now, Moodle has a plugin called Multi-Language Content Filter. However, I don't recommend it, mostly because it requires your content creators to know HTML. And I have something better, that I think is better anyways. If there's a plugin called Multi-Language Content V2. It's not made by Moodle, it's a third-party plugin. However, it makes it super simple to create multi-language content. All you do is, you don't have to go into HTML or anything. Right in the way you enter text, just surround the text. Let's make this a little bit bigger here. Surround the text with these mlang tags. So, for example, if I wanted to create text that was going to be in English, I put mlang, well, squiggle, mlang or brace, mlang fr for French. Then I put contenu en langue fr, or content in language fr, and then close my mlang tag. Just by repeating the same tag that I started with, but without the language letters. And what this is going to do is that it's when you are on the, if you're looking at Moodle in English, your content will appear in English. If you're looking at Moodle in French, your content will appear in French. Of course, you have to enter the content in both languages. However, it's really super simple to be able to see where your French and English content starts and ends. So I've installed that plugin on our MoodleMoot global demo site here. But because it's a filter, unlike most plugins, you actually have to go in and enable the filters. So we go into Manage Filters here. That was in site administration, by the way. I'm just going to reduce the size of this a little bit here. And we go down to, I've already installed it, but I didn't enable it. So now I have to enable it. So we turn this on. Wait a few seconds for the page to reload. Now we go back to the same plugin, and on this side here, we have to set it to content and heading because we're going to have multilingual content everywhere in Moodle. The next thing we need to do is to move this up towards the top so that the content gets translated into the correct language or displayed in the correct language. Where did it go? Oh, I lost it here. So for our demonstration here today, we don't actually need to get it all the way to the top, but if you were doing this on your site, you would do that. So next, we're going to go back to, we're going to change the name of our website. So we get into site administration. Where's front page? Front page settings. And the mlang tags that we just saw, that's what we're going to use here. So we're going to put mlang en MoodleMoot Global Online, and then close it. And then open another one, mlang fr MoodleMoot fr, just for simplicity. I know it's not the proper translation, but and then close it with a closing mlang. And then we're going to do the same thing with the short. Sorry about that, got muted for some reason. So we have en mlang fr MoodleMoot fr, and close the mlang tag, and then we just save that. So now if we go and take a look at our site, it still says MoodleMoot Global up here, but if we change it to French,
You are now unmuted.
we can see the, yes. Okay, so I'll speed this along because we've only got 2 minutes left. So as you can see, it changed the language, and you can do this everywhere. You can do it in your courses, in your content, almost everywhere. There's a couple of places that you can't do this, and for that, for example, the URL is a single language. If you upload a file would only be a single language, and for those, you would use this other plugin called Restriction by Language. Restriction by Language allows you to display certain activities only if the language of Moodle matches the user interface. So that's another one, and you would configure that in the settings for your activity. So I'm not sure how much more I'm going to be able to fit in today, but that's really the important stuff that you really need to know if you're going to set up a multilingual Moodle site. So I don't know if we have any time for questions.
You are now unmuted.
No questions? Okay. Right. So if anybody has any questions, you can look in the forums. I will be checking the forum periodically and answering any questions. I will just give you the links to the plugins. Sorry, where's here we are. So here are the links for the plugins that we've talked about today. I'm Michael Millett, and please, if you see me around the conference, feel free to say hi. I love helping people, and enjoy your conference.
Thanks, Michael. Some great tips there. Yeah, please look up Michael from the details there. I have seen Michael in the cafe. He's there quite frequently, so we can see you there. Thank you very much today, and we'll take a short break, and we'll be back very soon.
Thank you very much.
Open education.